I just got off of work too.
Welcome to another fun-filled, exciting, action-packed edition of Positively Governmental with Dave and Wade.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, welcome back. Wade was slacking on us last week, so we didn't plan on having a show. But then the whole council slacked on us. Me and Tim showed up, and Tim Lazaro, and everybody else was sick or working or on vacation. So the whole agenda got moved to this week, so we'll have fresh stuff to talk about. And welcome to the show. We try to maintain that you can talk about your differences in political and governmental matters, and you can do it respectfully, and you can agree to disagree. Right, Wade?
We can, and now I know I need to take another vacation because I took a vacation thinking I'd get away from y'all for a week, but I get back and we have a special meeting because P&Z matters do matter. We got people want to invest money in our city and build stuff, and it's important that we don't delay them in that. It would have been a 3-week break in between the meetings because of how it falls out. And so we had our special meeting and carried the agenda from the previous week over. And yeah, we got some good stuff to talk about.
Well, the P&Z items that made us roll over, or made us have the extra meeting, actually, it was Tanglewood Elementary School had to stay on track for building their new educational wing, and they needed us to go ahead and give them permission to have that conditional use, and so they could stay on their public bid deadlines. And also, we had a conditional use permit for the veterinary clinic out
Simply
on
Southern.
There you go.
Simply Southern, I think is what it is.
With the Hazes,
Super
and
nice. Yep.
They've been working hard to get a new building built and knocking down the barriers there, and they're continuing to work through that process and got 6 more months to kind of get things in line. There breaking news: there is no July the 3rd this year. We're going straight from the 2nd to the 4th. No, is the whole day was canceled or just the event?
No, just the festivities.
I heard July 3rd was canceled, and I thought, this is great. I'll sleep for a day and nobody will miss me.
Yeah, and I was watching the tropics thinking, man, it must be really going to be bad when I got the memo. But I guess the Amazing Place property is saturated from all the rain and the parking, which, look, hey, Dave, it brings me to my favorite thing to talk about, the need for a big multi-use arena for our fine citizens of our fine city.
We might get there, but the July 3rd event was going to be banned, and some awesome food trucks, fireworks, and I'm sure we'll be taking care of that at our next event, where the city's gotten serious about trying to schedule some good fun events for the city as regularly as we can.
Yeah, matter of fact, let's see, today is the 1st, so that means our new budget takes effect.
That's right.
I need to go after some of those events, man. I'm excited.
Yep, we got a bunch more.
$50,000 for some entertainment venues to entice the public with. So, I guess I'll get right on that and see if the mayor will jump on board with me.
Returning your tax dollars. I mean, Central had a banner year sales tax wise because everybody stayed home from COVID and spent all their money in Central. So Central's revenues were up several $1 million. So there's some opportunities to do some positive things, returning some of that to the citizens in the form of road repairs and internet infrastructure and some good community events. So looking forward to all that.
And drainage. Let's not forget.
Absolutely.
Quite a chunk we put on drainage, and I think I don't know about the rest of them, but I would imagine they're willing to do more if we can get some more projects going.
Working hard to line those up now.
Yeah.
So let's see. I guess the first event, just go down the agenda. One agenda item was to discuss the progress of the proposed City Hall property purchase offer to the Central Community School System and to request an update from Mayor Barrow. It's been about 7 weeks ago that the council voted 6-1 to make an offer on the 2 acres next to what will be the school board site on the school board administrative building site on the corner of Hooper and Sullivan. And it was a long, drawn-out 8 months getting to that point. And there were mayor and one of the council members really wanted a different site, and 6 of the council members said, no, we really think this is the best site. And this is disagreement, and it's okay. So the mayor was asked to finalize that by making the offer. There needed to be some adjustments to the property lines just based on where the school facility is being built, and 20 or 30-foot change in one of the property lines. We're kind of waiting on that. But the mayor took a little deviation last night? No, 2 nights ago at council, and kind of changed it up on us. You wanna run through that, Wade? Now remember, this is just a difference of opinion.
It caught me off guard. It definitely caught me off guard. The mayor made statements that he had been in contact with people in Central Athletics, as well as the Central Athletic Foundation, and they had asked him explicitly to not move forward with building a city hall on that site because they had a great plan that they were going to present. And the shocking thing to me in all of it is the people at Central High, at the school in the athletic department, don't really have the authority to act on behalf of the school board, and definitely the Central Athletic Foundation, which is a private nonprofit that supports Central Athletics. They typically don't have the authority to decide what the school board is going to do with the school board's property, and so it just kind of caught us all off guard. But moving forward, I think we'll get to the bottom of it and figure it all out.
Well, I have it on some pretty good authority that those organizations are not being quoted correctly. So this will be a developing story over the next week or so. I'm sure that actually, as a function of running the newspaper, I've asked each of those organizations to kind of clarify that for us. And there's question as to what that facility will look like in the long term. I hope and I believe it will include City Hall and some retail. It's a nice beginning to a city center, and the things we add athletically and track and connectivity to other parcels will do nothing but enhance that property. So let's just, the mayor's not been a fan of that site, and I'm okay with that, and he's apparently hit some hesitation that he's not willing to move forward on it. Still considering how I feel about that and whether we should push more. But regardless of what we do, it'll be done respectfully, and it's okay to disagree.
Yes, we can definitely disagree. Just like with our outfits, you have on your normal. I still have on my work clothes.
These are my work
campaigning.
Clothes.
I've been campaigning, man. I got off work and I was doing some campaigning out there, meeting with some citizens, discussing some issues that they had. So, but anyway, the other item, which was it's something that I give you credit for all the hard work you put into, and it makes so much sense. And it's the workshop for the road program. Basically, asking that the council come together, the public come give input, and let's discuss the state of our roads. We were lucky enough at the last meeting to get the survey from the Central Area Business Association that they did, and roughly 60% of the respondents gave Central a terrible grade on their roads and their traffic problems. And it was ironic that we had that discussion item to put together the workshop at the same time that we had the information given to us on a survey. It definitely wasn't planned, but it bolstered my reason even more for wanting to do this. Maybe you can give us a little more insight on the research you've done.
Well, and
help
again,
people understand why.
I'm not a road expert, but I slept at a Holiday Inn last night, so that doesn't work anymore. Is that too old now?
No, you can still use it.
Okay,
I
good.
use it often. Yeah.
So apparently, I am some kind of an expert. The experts I've talked to, unofficially, have given us some numbers as to what it takes to microsurface, which is basically when you get cracks in your road before they start getting olive trees growing out of them and cracking up the sidewalk and water seeping into them and freezing and breaking the surface. Before you start getting those potholes, you have the ability to microsurface to keep that water and those plants from intruding and deteriorating your road. So microsurfacing is something we can do to keep roads from failing. The ones that are beginning to fail, obviously overlays, and the ones that have actually failed, overlay with a base replacement. And the numbers that I've been shown on those for the 160 miles that Central owns. Now, we don't own most of the big roads, Sullivan, Hooper, Wax, Grimble Springs. Those are state and parish. But all the neighborhoods and some of the smaller roads like Levitt and Gurney, et cetera, are ours. And that 160 miles, it sure looks like in some reasonably short period of time, my best guess is 4 to 6 years, we can have all those roads in top shape with the money that we have in our savings and the money we receive every year. We have $8 million right now that can only be used for road repairs. So it can't be internet money, it can't broadband money, it can't be drainage money, and you can't build a city hall, you can't buy potato chips with it. All you can do is repair the roads. And then we get another $3 million a year from sales taxes through the two big tax initiatives in East Baton Rouge Parish, Move EBR and the half-cent sales tax, which is the Green Light program, and some of the franchise fee money that we get. All that's dedicated to road repairs. And again, we can only use it for road repairs. So if we got all that money we can only use for road repairs, it may not fix everything as quickly as I hope it will, but there's no reason not to fix everything we can.
Well, and there's no reason not to have a plan, because if it takes 10 years, if it takes 15 years, it doesn't matter. Without a plan, we don't know where we're going or what we're going to do. And it drew some ire from the mayor. And we have done some road work. He threw a number out, $200,000 in road repair last year. And I was quite shocked, because the reality is we took in a couple million, and so back to my libertarian leaning way, I believe that if we're taking money from taxpayers, especially if it's dedicated for certain things, we surely need to be using that money on those dedicated things, and not, banking it to where people are still driving around on rough roads.
What I hope the mayor can understand is the mayor needs to understand that no one's saying we haven't spent money wisely in doing what we've done. And honestly, we've had some great opportunities for some state matches where we pay just engineering, or we pay a certain percentage of a project, and you'll get a $1 or $2 or $3 million project done for a couple $100,000 or a little bit more. So there's been some good road projects, but I'm just saying we need to up our game. That's all. And the analogy I keep using is when you drive out of Louisiana and drive into Mississippi or drive into Arkansas or drive into Texas, when you cross a state line, not the sign that says "Welcome to Texas," but you just close your eyes and listen and feel your ride.
If you're going on 10, it's pretty bad right there in Orange. But other than that, you got to turn your radio down when you cross over, because it gets quiet.
Well, and I want people to be driving around, and all of a sudden they end up on a central road and say, "What's happened? Why is it so quiet in my car? And I haven't busted a rim recently." That's because we're on central roads, and I want
my friends to not spill their coffee all over their lap when they're driving down through their neighborhood.
True.
I mean, that's so. And look, it's not right, in my opinion. I think it's fair to say we spent $1.4 million on the Thibodeau Road project. But the reality is we didn't spend that. The state, that was a state project. We paid engineering fees, and it's almost a complete reimbursement for the project. And to use those numbers for the Thibodeau Road project, it's not an accurate assessment, because Thibodeau Road had to be rumble stripped. It had to be striped. They replaced all the mailboxes. So obviously, the cost for a major road like that is going to be significantly higher than a neighborhood street in Belgrade, where they don't even stripe it. I mean, it's just good, solid, smooth roads. I make this for the workshop.
And that's the whole reason for the workshop. First of all, the origin of this is a study that I initiated with Genevieve Sanji that the council and the mayor approved funding for in this budget. So it can start today. And my understanding is the mayor is working with our city attorney and the engineering firm to get those documents signed, those contracts signed. By late this fall, September, October sometime, we're going to have a list of all the roads in Central, all 160 miles, with an assessment for each small segment of road that says, hey, you need to overlay this, you need to do a base replacement here, you need to microsurface these, and these roads over here, they're good for a few more years. So it's not, when you say having a plan, the plan we're going to have for at this workshop is what's our theory about approaching roads? How do we apply the money? But then I'm sure we're going to have another workshop once we get the results of the study that says, okay, what roads do we do first? The ones that are most at risk of deteriorating to the point they're going to be more expensive. So we'll have not only a funding plan, which we'll talk about in a couple of weeks. Then, by the way, that workshop is immediately following the council meeting on July the 13th, our next council meeting, 2 weeks from this past Tuesday. And so we'll have a plan in place as to what funds we're willing to apply to it, plus an operational plan of what to fix first.
That's the big key, and you get an opportunity to jumble the bids together, put packages to where you can save money as well. There are some contractors that may specialize in the microsurface part of it, whereas others are more suited for the grinding and base repairs and total overlays. So,
well, the other thing is that economies of scale and mobilization costs are huge. I mean, if you do 1 mile of road, it may cost you $250,000 to have it done. If you do 13 miles of road in that same area of town, your cost per road may be $110,000 just because you're not mobilizing all that equipment. So we have the opportunity to do some strategic planning to make sure that we minimize our costs, and hopefully by that time the economy is rolling well enough that the bids come in low and employment's back up. So and we're in no hurry to issue them.
Well, I'm in a hurry to start driving on smooth roads.
I agree.
I'm in all the neighborhoods, and almost every one of them is in bad shape.
I look at it as an investment. We can leave our money, and we make a decent amount of money on the $50-something million we have in savings, and most of it can be invested. But you can't beat the return on investment fixing a road. Microsurfacing a road for $25,000 a mile, when if you let it fail, it's going to cost you $150,000, $180,000 a mile. That's a multiple 10, 15 times return on your money over a period of 20 years, keeping those roads in shape.
Well, and look, we as a city, I was talking to one of our people in Public Works today about the culvert dilemma that we have. And it's an enormous issue. When we took ownership of all these roads and neighborhoods and servitudes and ditches and drainage systems and driveways where the culverts are, we have right now our code calls for a 15-inch minimum, but we have tons of driveways with 12-inch culvert. And I don't know how many of those are not the correct height, but I'm hoping soon that we can at least maybe take on one street or one neighborhood and do the surveying and see exactly how many culverts are messed up or are off grade, and then be able to put a plan together to actually dig the ditches in that neighborhood and fix those culverts. And look, this may take 30 years, but again, we're not going to be a city for the next 2 years. We're going to be a city for the next 100, at least I hope. And the steps we take today to fix the problems of yesterday will ensure our safety and happiness and everything else. So,
well, you can't
finish. I'm working on.
You can't finish if you don't start. And
that's exactly right.
That starting point was this year when the mayor's budget asked for $300,000 in drainage work, and I asked for and got council support and the mayor's support on upping that number to $2.4 million. And I want to see all of that on routine preventative maintenance. If there's capital projects out there, we need to apply some more money to it. We have the money to do this. So, matter of fact, I was corresponding with the mayor today. He asked for my parameters. I'm pushing to get a set of parameters that we can apply anywhere. So the mayor said he had some roads selected and wanted to know what my parameters were. And I said, I really don't want to develop a bid package for a specific set of specific 2 miles of road or one neighborhood. I want us to have a theory going in. Shoot a grade, shoot a fall, know where your outflow is, and then whatever road you're doing, every culvert needs to be within a certain tolerance of that engineer or that surveyed line, and every ditch needs to be dug to the bottom invert of every culvert. And as they go along and clean every culvert and dig the inverts between the culverts, When they come on a non-conforming culvert, it's too small, write it down, take a picture, send it in. When they come across a failed culvert, write it down, take a picture, send it in. And immediately when that road is finished, we need to issue a work order either through IBTS or through a bid to replace those culverts. And did we put the wrong size culvert in? No, it happened under EBR, or maybe a private citizen 30 years ago put one in with no permit. When we took over the city, we took over all those problems. So let's just go ahead and fix every road, fix it one time, fix it right, and in some number of years, we'll get through it all.
Well, and look, if you look at it, my neighborhood, Carmel Acres, by and large, great drainage system, needs some minor work. Most ditches are culverted, and we don't have a lot of standing water in the ditches. But you may have on one or two of the roads, you may have some issues where, and out of the 164 homes in this neighborhood, you may have 10 of them that have an issue with driveway culvert. Well, if it's $3,000 to $5,000 per driveway to replace the culvert and replace the concrete, then if you can come in here and theoretically fix the problems in this neighborhood for $50,000, then you fixed one neighborhood, and you've solved that problem in perpetuity, essentially, because if you do it right and do it where it needs to be, one of the things that gets lost, and people say, well, I don't want you to dig my ditch because I can't mow it. Well, but they also complain because there's water in their yard when it rains. Well, if you dig every ditch to its proper capacity, you increase the storage for all that water in those ditches and not in your home. And that's the big thing for me, is a properly dug drainage system increases the detention capacity of the overall drainage system. And that's a big deal when we have other issues downstream. So,
well, one of the issues is that I've seen us do work in the last 5 years where we've contracted someone to come out and clean a ditch, and they come with a bucket and they make this 18-inch across half circle shaped dig at the bottom of the ditch. And I understand the citizens saying, look, I can't maintain this thing if it goes from a grassy bank to all of a sudden a vertical drop. I do think we need to address exactly how we excavate these ditches. We don't need to just cut a little rut in the bottom of the ditch. We need to excavate it out so that grass can grow, because once grass grows back there, you stop the soil erosion, which is what puts the sediment in the ditches. So I sympathize with the landowner, the homeowners. They do need to be able to maintain their ditches.
Well, I think the word is recoverable slope. In other words, if you drive off in it, you can drive out of it. Maybe we need to be digging neighborhood ditches with that recoverable slope.
You got
maybe it needs to be
you got a $5 word going there.
Man, I just bought that thing earlier today. You know what I mean? I was talking to the engineers a lot when they were doing that work on the throughway, and that term kept being brought up. Is the slope right?
Do I have to pay you royalties if I use that one?
No, you're free to use it.
Sweet, thank you. Public domain, I guess. Public domain.
Yes.
So if we beat this issue up enough, how about $10.8 million of federal money from what is effectively COVID relief? It's called the American Rescue Plan. It's been rumored to be coming for about 2-3 months now. It's part of that one of the $2 trillion things that your federal government passed. And am I in favor of sending money to communities just because there was a pandemic? Not necessarily. And I'm not even sure if I like the way it was done, but here's the fact. It is available to Central. And if we don't use it, it's going somewhere else or going to go sucked into the black hole of the federal government's bank accounts. So we got $10.8 million to spend in the next 3 years. And there's 3 things that, from my first reading of the federal guidance, that we can do as a city for our infrastructure that's allowed under this program. It's pretty specific. Some of it's medical, some of it's personal to people with those issues, et cetera. But the 3 big citywide things we can do: we can address a lack of broadband internet to some of the rural areas. And there are areas in this town that are on satellite and cell phone. And, all of us in the neighborhoods and on main arteries, we don't feel that pain. But we got places in Central where we'd love to be able to attract people to come and live in Central. And hey, country living in the city and nice rural home. Oh, by the way, you don't get broadband if you come over here. So that's something we can address, and we can also address some of the sewer issues, and we can put whatever we need to toward drainage. So it's nice they put that drainage catch-all, because I know we can spend $10.8 million in drainage.
I mean, we could spend 10.8 million on broadband. Who knows? I'm excited to get working on that. Councilman McKinney spearheaded that, and I'm very happy he did. It just so happens that, you know, the thing about the COVID, and we realized real fast when you had every child in Central learning from home and sucking up that speed on the capacity for our connection is just not there. I mean, we don't have fiber to every neighborhood, even in neighborhoods that have decent internet. We don't truly have the internet broadband experience that we're speaking of. And
well, so Councilmember Moak, EBR Councilmember Moak, our former council member here in Central, I spoke to him today and Councilman McKinney and I were looking for options to find out where to start this process. And I called Aaron because he is a computer guy and said, hey, what do you know about what we can do and who are the experts we can call? He said, I just happen to be chairing the East Baton Rouge Parish Council's committee on figuring out what EBR is doing for spending money in broadband from this. I guess they probably get $100 million from this program. I don't remember the number, or $300 million. There's a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But he's chairing that committee for the parish. So he invited Aaron to get in touch with him next week and they coordinate efforts and get some economies of scales and some synergies going there and help each other figure out how to get this done.
Yeah, that's an exciting thing, because if you look at economic development as a whole, sewer infrastructure, dependable electric infrastructure, and broadband is the things that people need and more. Your commercial businesses need it for fast credit card transactions. They need it for their menu boards and everything that you see. If it's a restaurant or what have you, it all runs on this Wi-Fi network that the broadband feeds. And without it, you know, your routers can't do their job because they don't have enough input speed going in. I'm no genius when it comes to that stuff. I can build you a beautiful cabinet to put your router on.
There you go. Well, I came home from working in the workforce about 4 months into the pandemic, because I have a 93-year-old mother-in-law lives with us, and I take care of my 88-year-old dad, and it was just too much exposure. So I started working from home, and I know a lot of people did that this last year, and companies have changed their model to where they're allowing more work from home. It's more efficient. It's more respectful of people's time, and less costly, and buildings are not the way to house people anymore. The internet is. So if we want to stay competitive in the work marketplace because of the demand on internet, not just schooling, we need to fill out the city of Central's broadband capacity.
Yeah, no. Look, again, I'm not a fan of the so-called pork, if you want to call it that, but I know that if I don't eat the bacon, that the bacon's not just going to sit on the plate. Somebody's going to eat it. And
that's right.
Until we're ready to cut it off completely, you've just got to accept what comes your way and go with it.
Well, and using it on one-time expenditures. That's one of the keys here. There's no sense taking one-time money and starting a program you have to maintain for 30 years. So need to do some fixes to sewer, drainage, internet, broadband, et cetera. Maybe some other things if we can sneak that in under the rules, but need to be things that you apply one-time fix and you're good.
Yeah.
I did ask for this to be added to the agenda for July 13th for a discussion of not what we're going to do with this money, but how we're going to decide what to do. Because this is not something that the council can just unilaterally decide. There's not enough expertise on this council to make all those decisions. We have a lot of experts in this town that can help us make that decision. And I think probably a workshop would be in order. The mayor can't unilaterally do that. He's got less experience than the council does when it comes to there's 7 of us and 1 of him. So neither body should really make this decision without at least looking at what the process should be and how do we gather the information and make the best decision for the community. So I've asked for a discussion of that at the next council meeting.
Well, good. I look forward to it.
Only other thing that I know of that's on the next council meeting is, have you ever come to a meeting late and wanted to turn in one of those little cards so you can give us some advice at the end of the council meeting. We get advice. Sometimes we get some constructive criticism. Sometimes we just get out some advice, and we just sit quietly and take it. It's a lot of times it's stuff we've earned and stuff that the city has frustrated a citizen with, and sometimes it's just really good information requests. But in order to speak, you have to turn in a card at the beginning of the meeting. I've had on 3 different occasions in those 2 years, people walk up and say, "But I wanted to speak, and I came here 10 minutes late because I had to work late today. How do I speak?" And they can't. So after this next council meeting, hopefully, or actually 2 council meetings it'll take to make this change, you'll be able to email or mail or drop off at the city clerk's office, IBTS, 24 hours prior to the meeting, and preserve your right to speak at a council meeting. Just a little minor tweak that is in the favor of always wanting to give the citizens every opportunity to speak.
One thing that did happen last meeting is our new format.
Oh, yes. Tell us about that.
It went very well.
When we remembered.
Yeah, well, I think I jokingly got point of ordered by Councilman Roy. He just likes to get on to me every chance he gets. And the clerk, in his habit, wanted to go to the public. But after we remembered, hey, we changed the way we do things, it worked really well. And it allowed us to go back and forth before it went to the public. And not that there wasn't any public comment. I mean, there weren't any public comments, but, and I don't know, it's anecdotal at this point. I don't know if it was because they just didn't want to say anything, but I find it hard to believe that people that were there didn't want to say something about something. But we had good discussion before it went to the public. And then it came back to us, and we really didn't say much after it. So well,
we often answer the questions that they were going to ask when we have our full discussion. And also, they get to come up more informed about what they want to ask if they already know what we're thinking. So we just need to let them know what we're thinking before we ask them what they're thinking, because it makes things more efficient, and then they're able to ask better questions.
Yes.
So that's all I got, Wade. What you got?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm done campaigning. I'm done hanging out and working. I do have to go draw some kitchens still. I got 2 more to draw tonight. So I'm going to have me a cup of coffee and go to work.
Well, we'll see you next Thursday night for another award-winning episode. Did you get any awards this week for this show?
I did. In fact, the kids gave me one. It was on Father's Day, but I'm going to take it as an award for the show, because right. If I have to give it an assessment, I'm going to say it's probably the best thing I've seen on TV or internet.
And this is the best show we've done this week.
By far this week.
By far. So actually, in 2 weeks, since we didn't have one last week. So we'll see you again next week. Thanks for your time, Wade.
Sounds good. Thank you, Dave, and thanks everyone for